This is Dr. Ron's Words of Wisdom, words on leadership, goal setting, productivity, and a whole lot more. Consider this like a vitamin or a supplement for your heart and mind. And wherever you receive podcasts, would you please subscribe to Dr. Ron's Words of Wisdom and leave a rating and a brief written review. Also, I'm looking for the next level of leaders that I can help. I'd like to see if we'd be able to come alongside and work together, and if I could help you. I'm looking to coach leaders. Go to drronblake.com/call. Get on my calendar, and we'll have a call and talk together about what your dreams are for the future. Today I'm going to talk about leaders and responsibility. I owe this to a faithful podcast listener, Jim Ballinger, who asked me, why don't you do a podcast on responsibility? I have several blog articles that I've written at my blog site on leadership, and the easiest way for you to access those is just go to drronblake.com and push the blog tab, and you'll find several articles on leadership. But let's get into it today, and let's talk about responsibility. What is a responsibility? Oftentimes with leaders, we talk about rights and privileges and accountability and tasks and vision and mission and all the things that you have to get done. But every right has a responsibility. And I think the reason that we need to have a session on responsibility is we are all responsible, yet we all know people who are shirking their responsibility and are not being responsible to the things that they have and the things that they are required to do at work, the person that you want to be. And in our day and age, we talk so much about rights. It's my right to do that. And I understand that politically and culturally. But have you ever thought for a moment that every right that you and I possess carries within it a responsibility? I have the right to free speech in the country in which I live, but I also have the responsibility to make sure that my speech is seasoned with salt and that it's gracious. I have the right to do lots of things, but my rights can't trample the rights of others or destroy someone else's rights. But a responsible leader, a leader who takes his or her responsibilities seriously, what would be 7 areas where responsibility will really come to bear in our leadership? Now, naturally, 7 is not exhaustive today. It's just a good starting point to really get into this idea of a leader and responsibility. Well, let's talk first of all, at certain levels of leadership, you have the responsibility, number 1, for the vision and mission. Now, you may not work in an organization. You may not be what you would consider a leader in an organization, but a leader in an organization has to shepherd, has to help create, has to have buy-in, has to be believable. And there needs to be for that organization a vision or a mission. But can we bring it back down to Main Street for a moment and ask this question? Do you have a vision or a mission for yourself, for your life, for your present, for your future? Do you have a vision of what you'd like to see accomplished in your family? What you'd like to see accomplished in your own life? It's never going to happen unless you take responsibility for yourself. But those who lead churches and not-for-profits, a business, a social club, there's always a vision and a mission. And first of all, if you're not on the ground level of the beginning of that organization, you need to really become familiar with the vision and mission and the culture of that organization. Where is it that we're going? And then it is the responsibility of the leader to say, are we running every decision that we make financially, personnel, how we treat people, where we plan to go in the next year, the next 3 to 5 years, how we allocate resources. Does it really match our vision and mission of who we say we are? The reason we blame things on the previous generation is there's only one other choice after that. I work in a field, as you know, of churches, and it's often true that I will hear people in certain congregations blaming the previous generation for setting up things that are untenable today or going after the wrong kinds of things. And it's just easy to blame everything going wrong today on the previous generation. Have you ever thought about the fact that perhaps one of the reasons we do that is it's easier to blame unnamed, unknown, oftentimes folks who've passed on into eternity, than it is to look into the mirror and take full responsibility for where we are today. So, leader, the very first area where you need to take responsibility is in the area of vision and mission. Let me throw another one in here. It's number 2 area, and that's in the area of supervision. Are you supervising, even in the area where I've worked most of my adult life, where the vast majority of our workforce was volunteers? And think about it for a moment if you've never been involved in that kind of a leadership endeavor. It is difficult to fire volunteers. And the fact of the matter is, even though folks are volunteering in our organization, if you're the leader, you have to take the responsibility to supervise what's going on. Now, you've heard me enough to know I'm not talking micromanagement. I'm not talking you get everybody to do everything just exactly the way you would do it. But I'm talking feedback. I'm talking training. I'm even talking mentoring. There are so many things that fit under this category. Is we can't just point to someone and say, do that task, be it menial or not, and then just leave them to their own devices, if nothing else, to encourage them, to give them feedback, to say, are you working well in that area, or would you rather work in another area? Do you feel that you would be better suited to do some other task? As a leader, that's our responsibility, to get everyone, in Jim Collins' words, not only on the bus in good to great, but to get them in the right seat. You cannot delegate your responsibility to supervise, to mentor, to train, and to help those who are in your organization. The third area where a leader has to take responsibility is in setting the example. We're living in a culture now where we kind of think that it's about big chairs and big offices and big automobiles and big paychecks. And the fact of it is that as a leader, people are not so much paying attention to what you say, they are paying attention to how you operate and who you are. And those who enjoy responsibility usually get it, meaning that if you're a person who has learned to seize responsibility, work things out, do the things that you say you're going to do, then responsibility will keep coming to you. There's another group of people, and those who merely like exercising authority usually love it. That was said by Malcolm Ford. Those who enjoy responsibility usually get it, and those who merely like exercising authority usually lose it. If you have to tell people you're the boss, if you have to tell people you're in charge because the org chart says so, you are in serious, serious trouble. Because the people who are deciding to follow you and to pay attention to you and to look to you for leadership are not so much looking at what you say and what wonderful pithy statements you have made. They're watching your life. Are you a woman of integrity? Are you a man who keeps his word? And you must be an example. I don't think of any higher area in which we model responsibility other than being a good example. The fourth one that I would mention about responsibility is in the area of encouragement. Be responsible and realize there are folks who rarely, if ever, have a kind word spoken to them. There are very few people who have someone in a position of responsibility who claps, who applauds, who cheers them on, who says, I believe in you, you're going to make it. Our organization would not be the same without you. A responsible leader is an example of what that responsibility looks like. Maybe the reason there's so many irresponsible people is we haven't had enough wonderful models of what a responsible leader looks like. Be the example, be the encourager. The fifth area would be in the area of conflict. Conflict is just a part of life. I know it's uncomfortable, and there are some of you listening to me, you chafe the moment you hear the word conflict. Your mouth becomes dry, your hands begin to sweat, and you get nervous. So many people avoid conflict. Here's what I have come to know, and if you're going to be a responsible leader, you have to seize this early on in life. There are people who do everything in their power to avoid conflict. They just go any way they can. And what I have discovered is those folks will end up facing much more painful situations, much more dire situations at times, than if they would have just taken it on, faced the conflict lovingly, firmly, kindly, but at times even forcefully. If they would have mediated the situation, there may have been some short-term pain, but they would have made it themselves, and the organization would be many times more healthy. But you wait until you have avoided conflict too long, and then when it does all of a sudden break loose, it's nearly impossible to put back. If you're a person who wants to be a responsible leader, I don't mean you go out and seek conflict and start fights, but you must be a person who handles conflict. That's a part of your responsibility. The sixth area for a responsible leader is one who communicates. All of us, myself included, think we communicate. It doesn't matter whether I think I'm communicating or not. Have the people heard? And oftentimes we think if we say it once, twice, three times, people will get tired of hearing it. A lot of times in communication, you have to not just communicate. As a matter of fact, as a leader, I don't want you just to hear the word communicate. I want you in your mind to hear the word over-communicate. Now, it's really not over-communication, but that's sort of how it feels. When you're in the leadership areas, you've been working on these things, you've been drawing these up, you've been discussing them, and it's just a part of who you are. But other people are not hearing it, and they're hearing it in different bits and pieces. And so if you're going to be a responsible leader, learn how to communicate. Seven, there is a difference between being accountable and being responsible. Accountable usually goes with the position I hold. I am accountable to a board. I am accountable to another board above me, I guess I would say, for lack of a better way. I am accountable, but they don't make me responsible. Responsibility is an inside job. Accountability is that structures which an organization places on me, and it's very, very important, and don't ever think that it's not. But there is a difference between being accountable and being a responsible person. I think Stephen Covey had a great quote here. He said, accountability breeds response ability, meaning as you become accountable to your organization, to yourself, it also helps your ability to respond both positively and respond when there is conflict. You must take personal responsibility. You and I cannot change the circumstances of our lives, the seasons, or the wind, but you and I can change ourselves. That is something we have charge of. That's something Jim Rohn said a long time ago. And it was Wayne Dyer who said, all blame is a waste of time, no matter how much fault you find with another, and regardless of how much you blame them, it will not change you. And you ultimately are responsible for changing yourself. So be a responsible leader and begin by practicing in your vision and mission of your organization, in your ability to supervise. Take responsibility. Take responsibility to be an example and an encourager. Take the responsibility to be a conflict solver, and make sure you take the responsibility that you are the chief communicator, regardless if you have someone in your organization with that title, and be both accountable and responsible. You've been listening to Dr. Ron's Words of Wisdom, words on leadership, goal setting, productivity, and a whole lot more. I trust today this has been like a vitamin or supplement for your heart and mind. If you'd like to get on a call with me, see if there's a chance that I could help you. I'm looking for that next level leader that I could come alongside and help coach. Just go to drronblake.com/call. Get on my calendar and I'll give you a call. I have a lot of great blog articles on the subject of leadership. Just go to drronblake.com, drronblake.com, and press the blog tab and it will take you there. Listen, my leadership friend, you are doing better than you think you are. You are really making a difference. And until next time, this is Dr. Ron saying have a great and blessed day.